everyone. Welcome back to Data and Donuts. My name's Aaron. I'm here with my friend and colleague, Elizabeth Horan. How are you, Elizabeth?
I am great, Aaron. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for asking. Today, Elizabeth and I are going to talk a little bit about how data is being utilized, and you'll utilize outside the classroom, outside of services, just really in somewhere where data is most needed in the library, and learning about what Elizabeth and her crew have been doing. But before we get into that, I would like Elizabeth to tell us a little bit about herself.
Okay. Hi, I'll give you my elevator speech, which is, hi, my name's Elizabeth, and I run an online library for community college in Southern California. And I have fun credentials to do that, which is a master's in library and information science, but I also have a master's degree in instructional design technology. And I was also a product of the community college, and I know how frustrating it can be for students when they're trying to utilize an online space. And so I always try to make that more easy for them, so they can be more successful.
Excellent. So let's start with the interview. So first question, how have you used data to gain insight and inform your work in the library?
Okay, yeah, no problem. So I'm going to kind of start on different levels. So when you use data, when I use data in the library, I use it on a granular level, which is where I look at data for how am I doing as a librarian? How have things that I've created been successful? Are students using our databases that we subscribe to? What's going on our website? Are we getting clicks? I really kind of start there to look at the data, and that helps me to inform what to change, what to improve, and what's being utilized. And so that really is kind of fundamental in how I use data, just for me personally. But then for my supervisors, for the college, they're really into numbers. And that is like a universal universal thing that people understand. And so I then take information that I get from our usage statistics for our databases, for example. And what our databases are, they're collections of journals, magazines, newspapers. We pay a price for them, we subscribe to them, and we get records of how many students use them. And so for me, I can show how much our library is being utilized, and I can also make decisions on if the cost is worth it for those products. So when I talk to my supervisors about getting additional funding to bring in new products, these are some of the numbers I use. And then when we're also talking about students utilizing like our library workshops, or when I'm asking to hire more librarians, I show how many questions we're getting from students, how many students are taking our workshop, how much work we're doing. And I use all of those numbers to say why I need things. And I also use those numbers to explain why I'm cutting back on things, because I think data is really important, especially for your higher ups, in letting them know what's being successful and not successful. And those numbers help me run the library really effectively.
Excellent. And I remember working with you on a few other projects, but one in particular, I'd like to hear a little bit more about. Can you share a little bit about the research you've done on study habits?
Yes. So that was actually kind of a fluke. One of my colleagues, his name is Brian Green, and he currently works at Columbia College in California, which is another community college. He was contacted to contribute a chapter to a book about commuter students. And so he contacted me and said, hey, I'd love to co-write a chapter. And so we kind of just threw around these different ideas about commuter students in community colleges. And ultimately, what we kind of decided was that we wanted to look at what the study habits were for our students. And our populations were very, very different. So my college is in Southern California. We're coastal. We have a population of mostly older adults. I don't want to say older, but like not your typical college age. We don't have traditional classes. The majority of our students are online or distance students. And Brian's college was completely your traditional college, face-to-face. And so we thought we would get a lot of different results when we asked, we surveyed our students through our institutional research department, right, Aaron? I went to Aaron and said, hey, can we do this survey? And he's like, totally. And so we surveyed our students about their study habits, and we on purpose made sure it was not library centric. We really wanted to understand when students were studying, what technologies they were using. We had a lot of qualitative stuff and quantitative questions where we got the numbers, but we also had really open-ended questions we asked students. And one of the things we found was like students were studying late at night, studying in their car, having problems with Wi-Fi. And we were blown away with how similar our students were. And based on that, actually, with the department here at my college, with Erin, we've continued that survey, and we've seen a slight change because we've worked with students now. Time management was something they really had struggled with. Some of them totally had it down for time management, but overall we found that time management was something that was a problem. So we've had multiple workshops on time management. We've come up with different ways for to support students in the times when they study. And so at the library, like, we always want to help people, but this study really was just a college study to see how all of our student services could assist students. Is that kind of what you're looking for?
I think that was like spot on and more. Every time I hear this about the study, I was like, oh man, we need to present that somewhere. It's such a fun study. We always learn new things, and we're sharing it across the campus. It doesn't just stay in the library. The student success faculty get it, and really that's the next step, is really sharing that out with our classroom faculty to see, how can they incorporate this as they develop their courses and the like. But thinking about other faculty and then thinking about other librarians, what advice would you give your colleagues who are interested in collecting and using data?
Okay, so faculty versus librarian is going to be two different things because
Totally
we're
agree.
looking at totally different data, right? So I also am a faculty member. I do teach every once in a while, but so I'll address a little bit of that in a moment. But for librarians, I 100% think, like, I know that librarians are not the only ones who think that, like, our job is super important. People must see what we do, right? They must think our job is important because we work so hard at what we do. But the reality is everyone's job is important, and we as librarians have to show how we are effectively reaching our students, how we are effectively meeting the goals and missions of the college. And the way we do that is with data. So if our goal is access, and we can show that students are accessing the library, and we have numbers to show that, or we show that our reference questions, we're able to engage with students, these numbers are the things that we should consistently pass on to our supervisors. It's super important to use data to show that we are effectively reaching our students and matching the mission of the college. I contact my dean at least monthly. Sometimes after the first 2 weeks of the semester, I just send her a snapshot of just a few numbers of what's happening in the library. And by doing that, my dean is able to tell the higher ups, like, yes, the library is busy, they're doing these different things. And when I ask for more funding for resources or for faculty librarians, when we're not in a hiring freeze, I usually get those things because my data shows that. So for faculty in a teaching classroom, it's different kind of the data that you get. The number one data resource that you get as a faculty member is your student learning outcome, right? Are your students learning your content? And by looking at your results from your student learning outcomes, you then as a faculty member can see, am I effective? Am I need to change my learning outcome? Is something different in my class? Like, how can I improve? But then there's a whole other range of data that you as a faculty member can look at. Like, if you're trying to start a new program, you would look at data. Is there a need? Is there interest with your students to even do informal surveys about things? Would be a great way you as a faculty member could do stuff. And then as a bigger thing, like in the college or even at the state, how are things moving and what data would you use to support that if you needed to bring something to a dean, or if you think something a dean presented to you is not a good idea. Like, I've had that happen before where someone presents something to me and I use data to say, I'm confused why you're presenting this to me. The data shows blah, 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 blah. Am I interpreting it incorrectly? And usually they're like, oh, well, maybe we didn't see that, or yeah, let's think about it again. That's kind of where I am on the two like basics of how you could use it. But data is so powerful, especially when talking to a supervisor.
Most definitely. And it's one of my favorite things to use as well. So for sure. And thank you so much, Elizabeth, for really sharing this insight with us today. And it comes to our bonus questions now. So the bonus questions are directly correlated with the name of this program. So the first one will either have, well, the second one does have a wrong answer, but we'll get to that one. The first one has no wrong answer. So it's the pronunciation of data. Some people say data, data, data. That's what I've heard. I've heard it all different ways. There's no right way to say it. How do you say it?
I think I say data. And maybe it's because of Star Trek, The Next Generation. Wasn't the guy's name Data on it?
It was
Yeah.
data.
And he was the one who had all the information. So
There you go. And so that's cool. Excellent. And so the final question is, what's your favorite donut?
my favorite donut is an old fashioned with chocolate sometimes.
Ooh, that sounds nice. There you go. Excellent. Excellent.
Was that
So
the right answer? Because
there
you
you
said
go.
that one
The
could have
only
a
wrong
wrong
answer
one.
is when someone's like, I don't eat donuts or I don't like donuts. I'm like, get out. So
They're on the wrong interview session then.
exactly. No, but today has been fun. It's been very insightful. Thank you so much for coming out today. Everyone, thank you for watching. Please hit the subscribe button and we'll see you next time. Thanks again, Elizabeth.
Yeah, bye.